All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy United Leader Class Beast Wars Universe Tigerhawk. Yeah, this is a character that I think has been long overdue for an updated figure, especially, when we a few years ago got all those updated Beast Wars figures in Kingdom. Tigerhawk was one of the members of the actual show cast that didn't get an update, and he's one of those ones where, like, the original toy is fairly accurate to the show. There's just like a few differences, but the main thing with it is that it's so gimmick heavy that it doesn't really hold up as a modern figure. It's kind of, like a fun older figure, but it doesn't really pose super well. It has a lot of gimmicks that if you're not trying to activate them are kind of on a hair trigger. It's a little bit annoying. So it's nice to actually get a new updated version of this character, who's honestly pretty remarkably similar to the old toy, just kind of without all the spring-loaded stuff, and the transformation steps are a little bit different, but for the most part, everything ends up in the same place, because apart from like a few like color differences, he really was fairly accurate to the in the show. He was fairly accurate to the toy. Like, this is one of the changes that they've made, is that in the show, all of his blue parts were more purple. So for this toy, they've made them more purple, whereas they were all blue, chromed out blue on the original toy. And things like, the little spark thing ends up being a lot smaller in the show, and he didn't have the whole, like Hawk battle mask thing going on. So this is really meant to be the version from the show. But because it was fairly close to begin with, it also does serve as a nice update to the original toy. But yeah, he comes with a bunch of nice accessories here. He comes with his wingtips, which in the original toy were actually like spring-loaded missiles, which aren't obviously on this one because they don't really do spring-loaded stuff anymore. But, still comes with those. And then the cannons, likewise, do plug in where they used to. They're just not spring-loaded anymore. And then this gun here, which was actually just a sculpted detail in the original toy on one of his arms. He also comes with a separate accessory for that. And thankfully, because of the way Tigerhawk is, all of this stuff does have nice places to store in both modes. You can just take the wingtips here. You kind of get it with the longer feather sticking further out, and there are just little pegs underneath the wings here that will just go into these slots right here. And just peg it on like that on both sides. It's a pretty tight connection. It's a little bit annoying to actually get these off of the wings when you want to. You have to kind of like wiggle them back and forth because it does kind of have a cavity that sits in here, so you can't really like turn it too much. So you just have to like wiggle until it eventually comes off, which is a bit annoying, but honestly, I'm just gonna kind of leave them there most of the time anyway. And then for these bits here, you can kind of rotate around these cannons, and now there's a peg there that these can peg into. It kind of works either way. If you want these to be, with the handle facing up or down, I usually plug them in this way so that when you have them kind of deployed out like this, then they're facing the right side up. But you can just flip those around like that and kind of click them into place. Back legs are spreading here, and we can just do that on both sides here, just like that. Click it into place, and then this one will just peg onto the bottom of his arm where it will be in robot mode. And there's nice storage for all of the stuff there, which is appreciated. In terms of articulation in this mode, the head has kind of an interesting setup. It can't go side to side at all, but it can go up and down. And then it also has this panel to kind of like fill the gap. Like if you actually have it fully closed like that, then his head can only go up about that far. But unfortunately, like the head joint is like really, really tight. So it's a little bit annoying to actually move the head up and down without moving other joints that it's not intending to. But I don't know if I really like the way that panel works, because there is still kind of like a gap from the side there that you can kind of see through. But ultimately, I think that it works fairly well. The jaw can open. He does not have either a painted nor a posable blue tongue in there, unfortunately. That would have been nice. I wouldn't have expected them to make it posable, but painting the tongue blue and painting the teeth that kind of darker silver would have been nice, but they didn't do that, but that's okay. Front legs here can click forward and back, and then they, unlike the original toy, do actually have an outward joint. It does kind of click into place, which I sort of wish it didn't, just for the sake of the robot mode, but yeah, that's kind of how that works. And then he's got a thigh swivel right there. The knee can kind of unfold. The feet can fold up and down, and then they also are each on a swivel here. This one in particular is a little bit annoying because, like, On this side, I was looking and I was like, oh, surely this is supposed to compress a little bit more because this one can compress more so that the heel can actually get in there. But because the feet are asymmetrical, this toe kind of bumps into the bit here. And then I realized that actually this is the correct one. This one should have a stopper because the little like hydraulic hinge thing, if you fold that too far down, it just straight up like will, you know, very easily kind of come disjointed. So to actually keep that in place, this foot only goes up that far, which is actually a little bit less than this one, which is a little bit annoying. I sort of wish that they had kind of pinned those so that it actually had a hard stopping point. It's not like really hard to like hook it, but if you actually pull this all the way, it does just like, you know, straight up just like disjoint that, which I'd prefer it didn't, but you know, whatever. It's not the end of the world. It's just a little bit annoying. But yeah, then in terms of the back legs, the hips are on ball joints here, so you can rotate them around like that and out to the side. Then he's just got hinge knees here for both of his knees, and then the feet are also on a hinge, so pretty good posability there. The tail feathers, unfortunately, the original one had a sort of like double hinge setup so that when you brought the tail feather down, it could sit a little bit further back, but this one always kind of perpetually sits up at that angle because it's just a single hinge, which is a little bit annoying. It's like, honestly, when you're looking at it from the top, you actually hardly notice it, but just when like looking at it from the side, I'm like, man, I wish that could just be a little bit more parallel to the rest of the body, but whatever. And then the wings have a joint right here, and a joint right here, and then a joint right here, which, you know, again, without the mechanisms for like the spring-loaded things, work fairly similarly to how the original wings worked. And if you want to do the, you know, weapons deployed mode, kind of like I showed off, you can kind of fold these guns around and just kind of click them into place like that, and then you can kind of pull the wings forward like that. Like I said, there's no, you know, spring-loaded stuff. Would have been kind of nice if they had done the if they had found a way to do, you know, spring-loaded missiles for the wings, but I know they don't really do that anymore. But still, you can still make the look, and I think it's nice because like one of the things that always really annoyed me about the original toy is because it has all that, you know, gimmicks tied to the wings. You couldn't like fold the wings up without making the guns shoot out, or like, you know, fold the, you know, the wingtips forward without there being like a bunch of springiness, whereas like this one you can actually just like have it sitting how you want it to. So I tend to prefer the not gimmick wings on this guy, because otherwise they're fairly similar to the original ones. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for a standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe there. And for a standard and kind of relevant leader class figure comparison, here he is with Transmetal 2 Megatron, who does not really fit on frame, but I think that they look pretty cool together since they were kind of counterparts in the original Beast Wars toy line. Here he is with Kingdom, Tigatron, and Airraiser. And allegedly, they were kind of talking about this when they revealed this guy, that allegedly, like, some of the parts on here are actually, like, straight up taken from the CAD models from each of these figures. I have yet to find any specific areas where I can see that definitely happening, but that's still kind of a neat concept to their, you know, because Tigerhawk is supposed to be a fusion between the two of them, that they would have some similar sculpted. Like, I thought maybe like, oh, areas of the tiger face, and there could be some like fur texture on there that's the same, but I haven't specifically found any areas that look exactly like just a scaled up version of the same model, but still looks good with both of them. And then last but not least, here he is with the original Tigerhawk toy, my very worse for wear and very awkwardly yellowed Tigerhawk. And you can see, look, what I'm saying is like, oh, this gun is perpetually, I only have one of the guns, he's missing a lot of parts, but like, it's like, oh, okay, I can latch this gun into place and have it like that, but then it always just like falls back into place and shoots that back out. It's like, okay, I would like actually just like to display it like that, but it just doesn't stay in place. So, you know, and I can't like bring the wingtips forward without sort of like forcing that mechanism, and then they kind of spring forward. You know, it's just not as much versatility as I would like. But you can see what I'm saying here with the tail feathers, how this one's on a double hinge, so it can kind of fold down where it actually sits a little bit more parallel. I also kind of prefer the tiger head on the original one. Like, this one's more show accurate, and I'm fine with the sculpt. But just in terms of the painted detail, I do wish he had some of the mouth detail of the original one. And also, like, I didn't even notice this until I compared them directly to each other, and now I can't unsee it. But I hate how his ears are, like, really sticky uppy like that. Like, they're like bear ears as opposed to like folding back like cat ears, which is a little bit weird. But when I'm not looking at both of them like directly, compared to each other, then I don't notice it quite as much. But it's still just like looking at the two of them, I'm like, why are his ears like that? I mean, I guess Tigatron's ears are kind of like that too, so maybe it is just more accurate to a real tiger. I'm not sure. I'm just like used to seeing the swept back ears like this from like this guy and from like Masters of the Universe Battle Cat. But like, yeah, like I said, he also doesn't have the whole bird mask gimmick, which honestly I'm totally fine with. This was, until I got this guy, I actually took this part off of my original one, which if you ever want to do, is really easy. You just kind of undo that screw and then you can kind of take the thing out. He ends up with a hole in his arm, but still, I don't know. I feel like this just kind of gets in the way and doesn't really help the look of the tiger mode, because I like the tiger head so much that I'd never really wanted to display it with the bird mask on. But like I said, he didn't have that in the show, so I'm glad he didn't come with that. In the show, this was way smaller, so he doesn't have like the huge, like sort of semi-diaclone driver seat down there. But yeah, no, overall, I think I definitely prefer the new one. But, there's certain details that don't translate quite as well. Like I think that the head on the original one, at least in Tiger mode, is a bit better. But yeah, to get onto transformation, nice thing about all the ways accessories work is they can just completely stay in place throughout the transformation. They end up in the same place in robot mode, so that's nice. But yeah, like I said, he is pretty similar to the original one, just a few different things here and there. Start by kind of folding the wings up just to kind of get them out of the way. And then for the front legs here, again, if you have the original, this is going to look very similar, but you just fold it around like this so that the big claw kind of goes in the back there, and then the heel can flip out, and then you take this purple panel and then fold it onto the back of the leg and kind of straighten it out there and kind of just bring that forward. Which way do we actually want it? I think it's going to end up being like that when all is said and done in robot mode. And just do that on both sides here. It does have the pistons, like if they come unlocked, you can kind of just press them back into place here, which is nice. Although I wish they just didn't come unlocked, but you know what I mean. And then also nice is that you can fold these out to the side to kind of get them out of the way a little bit, but you just want to unpeg these sections and kind of bring them down halfway for now. Just like the original, you do have to sort of like do a few steps around each other rather than just like bringing the legs back and then bringing the other bits forward. This is a new bit. Well, actually here, we'll unpeg the arm here first, and then we can kind of just unfold this section. This little white hinge just tabs into that brown piece here. So I'm just kind of bring that up and out of the way. Take this bit, fold it up, and then just kind of rotate it 90 degrees like that. And then take these white panels, this is kind of a new step, these untab from each other and then kind of come out to the side on these armatures here. And then you can take this arm and it will untab from here and then kind of double hinge out from here. After you've done that, then you can take this section and fold it down like that. And then take the whole thing after you've brought these up. Oh, sorry, you gotta take the section with the wings on it, untab it like that, and then you can rotate this 90 degrees, very similar to the original one. And then you can bring this section with the head and everything on it. And again, just like the original one, the head folds out of that back section and rotates around. You kind of want to bring these legs out to the side so they can kind of get in between these panels and these panels. And then you can kind of bring these further down to make some clearance. And before we tab everything up there into place, then we can take the legs, clip them into place like that. And there is robot mode legs pretty much. Then we can get this locked into place. It just kind of tabs in like that. Take the backpack, tab that back into place. Take the tail feathers. They don't actually peg in to hold these together like the original one. They just fold down like that. Then we can take these legs, and there's a little peg right back here that will actually go into this hole in the knee there. So you kind of just want to bring that up and get those pegged into place like that. And then we can take these panels, and these will fold around, and these tabs will go into the chest piece and sit just like that to actually fully complete the chest. And then you can bring the arms down, and each of the little hinges will peg into that section there and secure everything in place. And then we can take the legs here on the shoulders, and once you keep them pegged into place, and you fold them down, and this tab will go into this groove here, just like that, which can be kind of annoying sometimes to tab into place, but once it's there, it's fairly secure. Let's see, just like that. Definitely gonna have to adjust the camera here in a sec, but first we'll just get his arms. This one arm, you need to rotate forward, but then both of them, you just flip out these panels so you can get a grip on the hands there and fold them out, and then fold that back in, and then with this one, you can kind of adjust the shoulder here, because the arm itself actually has, again, some of the joints on here are really tight, like this head joint, but this arm actually does tab into place here. So you want it down like that, and then I usually don't click that into place just so you can still get the outward movement, but you know, I think technically you're supposed to close it all the way up fully. And like I said, just on this side, fold out the hand again. And there we have Tigerhawk in his robot mode once I adjust the camera here a little bit. But yeah, pretty similar transformation to the original, all things considered. Couple things are a little bit different, like the chest, you know, section kind of splitting into thirds like that. The original one really didn't do that, but for the most part, it's pretty similar. But yeah, no, ultimately, I think the robot mode turned out looking really, really nice. He's got a lot of really nice sculpted detail, definitely continuing the asymmetry vibe of the original one. But then again, like in the show, having a bit more kind of detail on the chest here, because the claws are proportionally a lot smaller, so they just kind of like stick up over the shoulders rather than being like these huge parts of the chest like the original one. But yeah, no, I think it looks really nice. I love all the kind of like nice techie sculpted detail on the chest there. I think the head sculpt looks really nice and is even honestly a bit more accurate to the original toy than a lot of the like sort of updated versions of Beast Wars characters are. Usually they go a little bit more in the direction of the show model, but still looks pretty good. I love the translucent green visor there. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so it can just rotate around like that, and you get a little bit of wiggle back and forth. This shoulder is on a swivel right here, so it can rotate out like that. And then, like I said, you can kind of open up this panel and then bring the arm out to the side like that. And again, this joint is also fairly tight, so when you're bringing it back down, it always just kind of wants to unlock that, which is a little bit annoying, but not really the end of the world. And then he's got a bicep swivel, a little over 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, and I guess no wrist swivel. I think, yeah, it just flips over like that, so no wrist swivel. And then this shoulder is pretty similar, swivels around like that. You can just bring this out to the side, and this panel will kind of automatically move out of the way, which is nice. It just kind of, you know, rotates up and down on this like green orb piece, which is cool. And then the elbows and hands are pretty much the same. And then, like I said, he's also got the gun on this side. Because this is not pegged in anymore to hold this in, he also does get a waist swivel. It doesn't go all the way around, but definitely, you know, more than the original, because the original one didn't have one at all. The hips can go forward and back on that ratchet, and then, like I said, they do kind of like unclick to go all the way out to the side. And the original one did have some movement out to the side, but it just wasn't quite as much. But it kind of results in that like old problem of like his legs are either, you know, like way out to the side like this, or, you know, in like this, and there's nothing in between. Thankfully, in the in-clicked position, his legs, I think, look just fine. Like, that's not a whole lot, you know, like closer together than I'd want them anyway, but still, it's a little bit annoying that it's kind of, you know, from here to here. The rest of it's not on a ratchet. It just sort of has that, you know, like click into place there. And then he's got a thigh swivel, pretty decent knee bend, a little bit like a degree over 90 degrees of bend at the knee there. And then he also has the kind of like sculpted section here, which does end at a certain point, but still it's nice. And then the ankles, they can't really tilt forward and back just because of how this whole thing works with the, you know, the pistons and how the feet that they're connected to are kind of like locked into place, but they do have a dedicated ankle tilt, which is nice. And then the wings just have the same articulation as before, obviously. So yeah, pretty decent articulation, not like crazy, but definitely a lot more workable than the original one. I do find that like this heel, for whatever reason, just goes a little bit too far up, so he always kind of wants to like, you know, fall over back that way or just like wobble that way, which is a little bit annoying, but it's not too bad to get standing there. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom's side swipe again, so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe. Here he is again with Tigatron and Air Razor, so you can see what they look like together. I think that looks pretty good. here he is again with Transmetal 2 Megatron. So you can see a little bit shorter there, but I still think that the two of them kind of stack up really nicely with each other. And here he is again with the original Tigerhawk, who, yeah, definitely is a lot more sort of like clunky and disproportionate than this one. I definitely think that the robot mode is a lot better on the new one. You can see what I'm saying about like the you know, the eagle, or yeah, falcon, I guess. Yeah, it would be falcon claws on the chest there. Just a lot more kind of clean and nicely proportioned there, whereas these are like a huge part of the chest, and the entire thighs are pretty much what makes up the chest detail there. So yeah, you know, I definitely prefer the look of the new one, but still it's nice to see kind of like all those old details replicated there. But yeah, other than that, obviously we can do the things with his accessories. You know, you could just fold these out part of the way, so they're kind of like folding up like that, but you can also unpeg them, and they do have a hand peg there, so you can put either or both of them in his hands there, which is kind of nice. Apparently, I don't know, I haven't tried this yet, but I only have ever had one of the ones for the original one. So, but apparently what you're supposed to do is plug them in like this. So, you know, we can replicate that look there. I'm just going to leave these off the side, but obviously they just store there really nicely. And then this I kind of wish was just sculpted in place, because it's a little bit annoying that it rotates, but it's nice that you can also just like make it a handgun or take it off entirely if you don't like it. And then the wings, like I said, are a little bit annoying to get these off. You kind of just have to like wiggle them back and forth until you get them out. But then once you do, you can have him hold them as swords there, kind of similar to what Silverbolt does. But yeah, no, I'm pretty pleased with this figure. There's like a couple things here and there that I'm not as crazy about. You know, the wings are a little bit hollow on the underside, and I wish that the hips, you know, kind of more smoothly went out to the side rather than having that locking spot. Yeah, you know, I wish the ears were shaped slightly differently in the alt mode, but otherwise, no, he's a really, really nice updated figure, and I'm glad that we have him, because I really do like the original Tigerhawk figure, but he definitely has a lot of that, you know, old toy, very gimmicky stuff going on that doesn't really make him fit in super well with modern figures. So it's nice to get a nice updated version of this character for my Beast Wars shelf. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Legacy United Beast Wars Universe Tigerhawk.